record. Hi, everybody. This is Chris, one of the programmers here with SFND Fest's Green Film Festival of San Francisco. One of the things that we really like about the programming with this festival is that we get to bring different stories from all around the world. And you're lucky enough to see this particular treat of a film, Hell or Clean Water, by director Cody Westman, who we have here for the Q&A. Welcome, Cody.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well, it's definitely, the thing that I really loved about your film is that while, it was very kind of intimate, it felt kind of this local story, there was this kind of universality to things. How did you first hear about the work that, Shawn was doing, and that you knew that there was kind of a film there to be made?
Yeah, no, it's a great, I'm glad that you said that universality thing, because I'm saying that all the time. Like, I think it's a universal story that just happens to take place in small town Newfoundland. But, it really could be anywhere in the world that has a harbor, and so what happened is that Shawn, reached out to me because I do a lot of corporate and commercial work, for a living while I'm looking for stories and trying to do rock and roll and, fun stuff. And he reached out to me to sort of get a price or see if I'd be interested in helping him, with his efforts. But it was the line that he wrote that really got me. He said, in the first year, I've removed 15,000 pounds of trash by myself. I was like, holy shit, like that's a story, and pardon my French. But that was just interesting. It was like, the effort that he's going to, and he was just telling me how it's just so hard to get people on board, and he's trying to get the government's attention. And I just thought, that was a bigger story than just like a little 2-minute promo video. And it just kind of went from there. And, I asked him if he would let us, after probing him a little bit and seeing if he'd be interested in telling him how much it would take, I said, we're going to follow you around for a year. Like, are you cool with that? And he, he eventually said yes. And the only thing I promised him was an audience. So here we are.
Very nice. I'm going to jump a little bit ahead on questions just because I think it's appropriate. That's now is like, as the films begun to be kind of released, playing in film festivals, and I know in Canada it's been on TV and things like. What's the kind of impact that he's seen in his community for the efforts, and then also have there been other people that have kind of wanted to, I guess, replicate or kind of take ownership and maybe do something similar but different in their own communities?
Yeah.
What's been the audience reaction?
And this is shown after people have seen the film. Is that right?
Yes. So the idea is everybody's seen the film, and now is watching the Q&A.
It's pretty amazing, I must say, because it shows you the power of storytelling and filmmaking. And since we did a bunch of festivals and we did a few cool things, and it went on the documentary channel in Canada, which is a specialty channel, but it's a pretty big deal. But that's owned by the CBC, and CBC is the national broadcaster, right? So when it finally went on the air January 14th on CBC, within about 1 week, Canadians had donated over $100,000 to Shawn. So that's just a real testament that the comments all coming in were just like, way to go, Shawn, and you're a hero and all this stuff. And I don't know if anyone has actually, started their own chapter of it anywhere or anything, but we've just gotten a lot of positive feedback about the film and the impact of it. 100,000, right? So and now he's had 2 more boats donated to him. So he has 3 boats. He has a full-time assistant, and he's working with IFA and all these, his little team. The last I heard, he was going, they're putting together a grant, which is a lot of work, for like 1.2 million or something.
Wow. When you had first heard about what he was doing, were you kind of inspired what you're doing, or was it kind of a curiosity factor, like, oh my, what the hell, I need to see what this guy's doing? What was your kind of initial reaction?
Well, I've been following this subject matter for a couple of years online, just for so many reasons. I guess just the stuff that I'm interested in gets filtered down, and into my eyeballs as I'm scrolling. But I've been learning and reading a lot about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch in Hawaii and all this just different efforts. The guy from what the Netherlands. What's his? He created the big thing that sucks up all the. He's trying to like drag the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. I can't remember his name right now, but somebody out there knows. But his name is Boyan Slat, I think. But just a lot of really interesting people and what they're sort of trying to do about the trash in the ocean. And I'm interested in environmental stuff. You know what I mean? We only have one world, and we gotta do something about it. You know, we gotta do our part. And so when I heard about this guy, I mean, it is totally inspiring. And I opened the film with a quote, saying like, one person can't do like everything, but everybody can do something. You know.
Yeah, and I know this isn't his intention, but when I was watching it, it kind of shames you into feeling like you need to do more. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I might not be able to go out and clean 15,000 pounds of trash, out of the bay near me, but the idea is like it made me realize you're like you can always do more,
Absolutely,
and
man.
it's
Yeah.
like you don't have to do the same, but the idea is that kind of the status quo isn't going to get us anywhere in regards to kind
No.
of making
And
a
it starts like it's overconsumption as well too. And we try to just, I mean, geez, you just, uh, we live on an island here, right? And Newfoundland is in the middle of the North Atlantic. Everything is shipped in. I mean, you do your best. Like in the summertime, we buy local vegetables and all that stuff, but a lot of stuff we get from Costco. And I mean, there's the whole issue of just how much is actually produced, and then that much is thrown out. And part of it, is about changing habits. People used to throw stuff in the ocean all the time around here, mainly because of such small communities that they didn't have adequate dumps and all that stuff. And we heard some crazy stories while we were filming. A lot of these people didn't ever want to be on camera. Most people we talked to didn't ever want to be on camera. But they're talking about these little towns that had that in the middle of the winter, people would go and throw their garbage on the ice and just wait for it to melt. I mean, can you imagine, right? Like, so you're talking like, what can you do? Well, I mean, there's just changing your behaviors a little bit and trying to use, recycled water bottles, and don't buy this anymore and that anymore. There's little things that we can do, I think. But you don't need to go out and do 15,000 pounds by yourself. That would be that'd be intense.
Oh man, the ice stir is crazy. So I'm trying to think how the best way to answer this question is. I've seen this myself and just traveling around the world, or even I grew up in a small rural area in Missouri in the United States. Is what do you? Why do you think that trash issue winds up showing up so much in kind of rural areas? Is it the idea of just like the resources aren't there for proper dumping, or is it also just the idea of like that kind of larger connectedness, I guess, to the outside world, like in the sense of like, if you don't see the impact, right, then
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We saw that. We heard that many times during the filming. That I think it's in the film at least once, but I cut it out many other times. But the common saying is out of sight, out of mind. And I mean, I think it's a combination of both, Chris. Like it's maybe, I don't want to say education or anything, but back in the day, like a lot of these people that dumped in the ocean, they don't do that anymore, or they're not even alive anymore, But I think, it was just people didn't think about it back then as much, out of sight, out of mind. And partially maybe to do with the small towns and not having the dumps and everything. I grew up in a really
the
small
resources.
place as well, and we had a garbage dump, but it was just drive your pickup up and throw everything out, and it's not as sophisticated as it is now. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into that.
Yeah, I know I burned trash most of my childhood, so
Yeah.
um, so what when people kind of leave the theater or finish watching the film online, like what do you think? What do you think Sean's biggest takeaway that he would want people to kind of be thinking about, of the way they live their life, or the efforts that he makes?
Well, I mean, I'm sort of going back to the same thing I just said, but I think it's totally poignant. Is it just about how one person can do something? You can't do everything, but we could all change our habits a little bit, and just I don't know. I mean, when you go to the beach, and you're getting there with your family, and there's another family leaving, and you realize that there's four things left there. I mean, just pick it up, so that it doesn't, just throw it in the trash so it doesn't blow out somewhere else. And I mean, the original idea for this was I was going to do three. I was going to profile three people around the world that are all doing something about ocean trash because I knew that I had Shawn. But then Doc Channel, in their wisdom, and I mean that, they said these people need to meet organically in a way that's not put together by the filmmakers. And I was like, well, how's Shawn going to meet anybody when the guy has no money and whatever? So we ended up going with this small story, and I'm glad we did. But one of the guys that I would talk to was in Hawaii, and he's ran some huge campaigns where they cleaned up tons and tons in a day. And he said the best thing on the phone, he said, we are away. When you throw something away, it doesn't just go away. It goes
Right.
to Hawaii,
Right.
I mean, because of the gyres and everything, right? So it's, yeah, it's just interesting. I think people can take away just the effort that, like Shawn said, he spent first half of his life doing things he shouldn't have done, and now he's spending the second half doing things that he should do and doing his part to do something good for the world.
That's very cool. So another thing that I want to kind of raise is, so obviously we're a green film festival and we deal with environmental issues, but like, we're not here just to kind of celebrate, kind of the issues and the subject matter, but also we're here to celebrate, the cinematic form and kind of, you all as filmmakers. So, as you decided to start kind of tell the story, how did you kind of, what sort of storytelling approach did you decide to take, and how did that kind of shape the kind of aesthetics and the way that you wanted to make the film? You already kind of shared a little bit of like this kind of transformation from these multiple portraits to
Yeah.
a more focused portrait. That like just even like how you visually captured Shawn's story. What was your
Yeah.
approach to
Well,
that?
there's a few factors. I mean, number one, it was a single camera shoot for the most part. I think some interviews we did have a second angle, but everything else was a single camera. And so, that number one, I wanted everything to be totally real. I didn't want to fake anything other than with a single camera. You might have to go, just stop there for 1 second and run around and then, okay, which next film, 100%, I'm going to get two REs and cross shoot and just, save myself so much hassle and headache in the edit. But no, it was a single camera shoot. We gave Shawn a camera. We bought him a little sort of a good cheap HD camera that with the mic on it, so he could capture a lot of stuff, like the whole whale that was entangled. I mean, they caught that themselves, right? And then we knew we would be doing aerials and also, of course, underwater because Shawn is a diver, and so but we didn't have like this big National Geographic underwater housing kind of stuff. But we had an A7S in a underwater cage, and my director of photography Troy went out and got his certificates. This
Oh
is
wow.
cold water diving, by the way, right? Like 20 years ago, I dove down in Belize and Honduras, and I mean, it's totally different. This is like ridiculously cold. And even sometimes when we were filming, a couple times, Troy was sort of overwhelmed because he's new at it, and he started sort of throwing up, and we had to give the camera to our safety divers. Everything was done on the up and up. We had safety divers for everything. So, but those are just sort of a few maybe challenges or whatever, but they shaped how we did things. Besides that, we live in different communities. It's it's an hour and a half to Bay Roberts where he lives, and in Twillingate where he's from, where we filmed a lot of it, that's a 5-hour drive. So we couldn't just capture everything. Like I couldn't live with him for 2 months or anything. So it was just kind of planning around things that he was doing, and some really good surprises that came along the way. Like we just happened to be filming when certain phone calls came in, or the guy who gave him a boat, that was a surprise. Like he said he had something to give him, and we should be there at 2:00. And it's like, first thing he says is, well, I kind of want to surprise you a little bit and it's like, God love you. Like we're making a film here where he gets it. So yeah, that kind of, besides that, we were just trying to be real and follow his journey of how hard this was to get off the ground.
Very cool. Well, you've made a really wonderful film, Cody, and really appreciate you sharing it with us. The thing I always kind of try to remind our audiences is that we're, lucky enough that filmmakers, share their films with us and, in our city. What are ways that folks can kind of continue to kind of follow the film's life and also, Shawns efforts and like, kind of what's the
Yeah.
next steps with the film?
Well, I mean, right now the documentary channel has it in Canada for 6 years, but we do have a U.S. distributor here in Canada. He's not allowed to make any sales for 5 months after it plays on Doc Channel. So come April, we're allowed to, make sales down there, and I mean, I want to get eyeballs on it. I'd love to get a U.S. Deal. So if anyone's watching that's in the industry that would think would be great on television somewhere, I mean, go to our website, hellercleanwater.com, and get in touch, and we'll put you in touch with the distributor. But I mean, we're trying to sell it in Europe. Again, from the first question you said, I think it's the universal story that that just happens to take place in small town Newfoundland, and it could be sold in any region in the world. So that's sort of the idea. If you like the film, I would say go to even our Facebook or something and leave us a comment. I'd love to hear what people down in California and everywhere in the world think of the film and Sean's efforts. And besides that, I mean, not because this was never made to promote Sean in a way. It's just more like profiling somebody. But he is always accepting donations at his GoFundMe page. It's called Clean Harbors Initiative, and everything goes directly to him and his family and people that work with him. So yeah,
Very neat.
follow my work, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, well, thank you, Cody, and everybody. So go leave some comments and feedback on Heller Clean Water's Facebook page, or just post on social media and let them know about this cool documentary you just saw, and for people to be on the lookout for it. Have a great day,
Yeah.
Cody, and tell Sean hi for us.
Right on. Thanks, Chris.